Hello, welcome to Outdoor. I wanted to make a little thing uh, for RobotCorp. I know it's been a bit since I published it. Just going into how I made it, some things that I probably should have changed, stuff like that. So starting here, the first in sort of semi-interesting thing I can show is that these are the original versions of the levels. The levels in the final build are actually a copy of a copy, because I wanted to copy it so that I didn't mess something up when in the process of adding automatic game starts and linking names together, but I think it's the other way around. I linked them first and then did automatic game starts. But yeah, these are the original levels in this very strange arrangement. Go from 8 to 1, 2, 3. This is why I can never make a sequel to RobotCorp, because I already made a RobotCorp. Yeah. Just not gonna use these, because they don't have automatic game start and such in them. Just open up there. So, back in level 1 here. And I think this level is really interesting. It just has a lot of interesting stories to go along with it, because it was the first thing I made. I didn't do any of the levels out of order, but the first interesting thing that I have to show, and hopefully it's still there, it's outside of the map. Down here, you can see this little area here, and this is a remnant of a canned, I guess, bit of how the game was supposed to start. It wasn't going to start in your room at first. For some reason, one of the doors is up here. You're going to start in the lobby of RobotCorp, and you were going to go get your job card, and then you were going to go down. There was going to be an elevator over here. You would go down it, and there would be this big train station, and you would ride the train, and it would crash. Sort of like in Final, except I wanted it to look a little more impressive than it ended up being. But yeah, that's sort of interesting. And this was before I finalized the story, because in final build, you're not on Earth, but I was gonna have it be like Earth outside, so wouldn't have worked with the canon anyways. Sorry about that. Yeah, back to the start of the game. This is the first bit of story you get here, is the report to Robot Labs. Sign here. It just sort of informs you of what you're doing, because otherwise you don't really get a great idea of what's going on. You don't get a great idea in general, even in Final. That's probably something I would have done better, is have the lore dumps be a bit better. They're kind of abrupt. But yeah, this is the first room, and I believe that I accidentally made this cabinet like part of the walls, so I couldn't use it twice, because it was like, uh, I put them together as the same object. They were made as the same object. So yeah, key cards. These were a pain to deal with, because Rec Room does not have a good time with custom physics objects. Like the colliders or whatever just aren't very good. The welcome mat's down there. It's underneath the map. This is where you spawn, but it just places you on top, because otherwise you'll be like stuck underneath. And Rec Room does a good job with it. But it doesn't do a good job with colliders, so whenever I saved the game or reloaded the game so that I could go back and change something, uh, it would like fall down. Sometimes it would fall down through the floor, and I was really confused at first why this was happening. And then I would like go down here and, oh, there's a pile of key cards down here, because I kept spawning in new ones, because the old ones disappeared. But fortunately, it ended up working out. I kind of ditched key cards after level 4, I was just so tired of them. But anyways, down here, we can see a photo of something that I'll hopefully show off later. And shoutouts to Pieman, he helped me, well, he talked to me while I worked on the first level. We chatted about half the plot. Anyways, ignore the Z fighting, that's because I'm on quest. And we will use the card reader. And I'm really proud of how these turned out. I didn't use this one later on because I couldn't save the invention well. But I really like how this keycard reader looks. You got the little dots here. Just think it looks nice. And this is a bit of a Half-Life reference, this strip along the wall. Sort of reference to anomalous materials and how it has those colored lines that direct you. And vending machines were very interesting to get working. The one downstairs is kind of broken, but I'll show that when I get there. This one just vends the key card. This is kind of a solution to the problem of keycards falling through the floor. Like sometimes if you drop it, it'll just go through the floor. Right now it seems like it's working pretty well, which is nice. But if it fell through the floor, you could do that. I suppose the problem is that you think it doesn't work if you're holding the key card. But it will respawn if it's in your pocket. Yeah. Oh, and these had physics at one point, but they kept falling through the map, which sucks because I wanted to be able to like push the vending machines over and stuff, but that didn't end up working. Yeah, this is the emergency stairs. I like it. I find it funny people try and use this, even though it says emergency use only and no emergency has occurred. I actually ended up adding this bit here later on, the stairs themselves. There used to just be a black box in the middle of the door, but I changed that so the world feels more alive. But as you can see, these stairs go nowhere, and the stairs themselves are not solid. They are decorative objects. They have the decoration preset so that they take up less ink, so they fit in the map. And this is the restaurant. Another thing that I added later. I came back to level 1 and did a whole bunch of stuff at one point. There's a whole bunch of sound effects. I don't know why I used these here. There was going to be a crowbar in one of these toilets. I don't remember if it was in the men's or women's room. But it kept falling through the floor. It's probably underneath the map somewhere. There's supposed to be deodorizers in these, but they always fell through the floor. I'm happy with how this turned out. There's a trigger down here, sort of like an actual dryer. And as you can see, these were put in before mirrors got added, but even so, mirrors take up so much ink that I just did this. And I like how this turned out with the mirrors. It's sort of a video game mirror thing. Yeah, the bathrooms. Those were fun to make. And this is the aforementioned elevator. And I had to add please scan keycard because it's not very clear that this is a scanner. Go down. There were going to be like multiple rails, and a train would probably go past. But yeah, this elevator was very interesting to get working, because I didn't know how to use like one animation gizmo with multiple objects at the time. So the door and the elevator have separate animation gizmos, which was a bit odd to wire up. And I had a point where it was messed up, and I realized that it was just something very simple. But I can't really remember what that was at this point. There's nothing in here, in case you're wondering. You can't actually get a level 2 keycard and go in there. But yeah, here's more vending machines. This one has water. And one of these has a very odd spawner in it. For some reason, it's like physics-based. It's not clamped to the vending machine. I don't know why. It just isn't. and the trigger, but it's clamped to the trigger. I honestly have no idea how that happened. And you can see I have collision up here because you could otherwise jump over this, but I don't want that. Uh, see back here, this there's nothing here. Video games. Uh, yeah. So, guess go to the train, and I was gonna have this train be a bit longer. And I was gonna have it sort of be hanging from the top, and then you would just fall down, because in release it's kind of odd. You get like bounced off the track. I don't remember why I ended up doing it this way. Just worked out that way. And I had a different train car. It looked more like a train car than this uh elephant cage down here. Uh, but I accidentally grabbed it with my hand and messed it up. And I wasn't able to undo it. So we ended up with this. Um, here. And these are not grabbable. It's supposed to be like a ladder to provide justification for why you jump down here, but you can't actually grab it. And this trigger here opens that door. And if you press go, you go. And I was gonna have some robot spawn outside the map when you get to about here, but the player would always lag out of the cart, so I didn't do that. Go down. That was something I added later. And as you can see, the cart is actually in the ground. And that's because there's some collision on the side to keep the player from jumping out while they're riding. But when they get down, what happens is that you probably couldn't actually jump out if it was like aligned with the floor. So I just did it this way and figured no one would notice. uh, yeah, that's the thing. It actually used to like fall sideways off the track, which is why it sort of bounces off now. It originally fell sideways. What would happen is you could soft lock the game if you didn't crouch while you were in the cart. Uh, and that's not a good thing. You don't want to soft lock the game. You could get out of it if you were in VR, but if you weren't, it would soft lock the game. Just want to see if I can find something. If I can't, I'll just tell you about it. Here it is. So this is that thing that was in the photo. This is the levitation vending machine. As you can see, it's floating. Uh, but this vending machine has physics applied to it. What ended up happening is that this was a prototype vending machine. What happened is that vending machine has physics, the button doesn't have physics. They ended up inside of each other somehow, and that caused it to levitate. It was like the funniest thing when it happened. And I decided not to delete it because I think it's funny. And as you can see over here, this is where there used to be a box here where I spawned some enemies, to imply that the robots had escaped and that's why you crash. But I ended up deleting that because, like I said, it always lagged the game. So, anyways, down here, this is the generator airlock because the generator area there's a generator next level. That before my ugly voice clip plays, it's kind of funny. The like beep that plays when Raccoon is telling you that a recording has started, it ended up in the recording, but it actually sounds really good because it sounds like a loudspeaker or something is turning on. So, anyways, we'll listen to my bad voice acting.
Attention, staff and personnel. The robot containment system has failed. Evacuate immediately.
Yeah, you can hear my mouse click at the end there. Yeah, this is 3D audio, so it's from there. It's not just in your ears. Yeah, when I press this trigger comes down, and there's a door outside the map it's linked to. You can see that wire there, and that takes you to the next level. This is the loading box, which
Game
I'll
on!
explain in a second. Welcome to Waterworks, or the generator area. And I realize this looks nothing like the previous area, but it's supposed to be the same area. This is very small now for some reason. But anyways, this is my explanation of how the loading and game over boxes work. And I don't fully remember because it went through some iterations, but I'll try and explain what I remember of it. So when you spawn, you go in here, and this isn't actually loading anything. It's just countdown until the game starts, so you can't like run through the level without a health bar and not take damage. Uh, that's what that's for. And so when you spawn in here, in this room, there's actually 2 spawner gadgets because of an extremely complicated system that I did at first. And sometimes you end up spawning in one of them and get spawned in the other. This time I didn't, so you didn't see that. But what happens is that then you spawn here, and you're immediately in this trigger, and that trigger triggers an animation that puts the spawners inside of this box, which is the game over box. And when you enter there, well, it's game over. And this system was a lot more clunky at first, but I cleaned it up in the other levels. Not this level though, for some reason. It still has 2 spawners. Some of the earlier levels, like 3 and 4, I think had 3, 4, and 5 had double spawners, but I got rid of it in those ones. Just not this one for some reason. I need to turn those off when I record. Anyways, let's take the elevator down. Watch my maker pen bounce. Just turn them off for a second. Apologies. Yeah. So anyways, more key cards. This one fell through the floor a lot too. And these also had physics at one point. There's an old video I have that I might have privated showing off the physics. But I ended up getting rid of them. Because like I said, they always fell through the floor. The store fell off its hinges when the robots escaped. And I really like this. It's just a bit of design, like visual design that a lot of the rest of the game didn't really have much here in terms of how the visuals look. But I think it looks pretty cool. It's just some pipes. Anyways, I sort of accidentally stole that button thing from Vertigo Remastered. I saw a bit of gameplay of it where someone had to do that, and I assumed it was a glitch, like the game wasn't supposed to function in that manner. It is, but I stole it wholesale and put it in the game. Some people don't seem to realize how it works, but I put this on robot things. Particularly, so we'll just crowd up wherever the player is closest to. And I think I added this level 2 door later on, so this room looked less empty. But I kind of like how this turned out. It's kind of a little arena. The AI didn't all bunch up there. It's kind of fun to jump around here and shoot. You can see this is where the water will come down later. That's the generator. And this is the broken elevator. With that sound effect, so you know it's broken. And originally you were gonna have a Half-Life 1 style elevator shaft where you grabbed a ladder and pick some ladders up this. But eventually I just went with this. It's climbing up this elevator's rope thing. I don't know how elevators work, so I just did this. Anyways, this keycard doesn't have physics because it always fell through the floor. Let's climb up this. there's the elevator up there. There's the next room. And the physics barrels in this area are kind of broken because they're all sideways because of bad colliders. And there's a secret second pistol up here if you like dual wielding. There's a bit of a hallway up here. And just to, is there any questions? There is nothing over here. It ends very quickly. Yeah, that's the thing. I'll head over to the first shooty bit. And I don't like how what you're gonna see here is the enemies spawn as soon as you pass this trigger. It's like right here. I don't really like that. I think it's rude to the player. But I didn't understand how to do good spawning at the time. Yeah, those barrels were sort of meant to be used as cover. I think you can, like, hit the enemies with it. Yeah. I'll go here again, just like, remember this thing? If you were paying attention, then just clip through the door or something. You gotta do it again. When you press this button, an enemy spawns by the window, and I wanted it to, I didn't want it to immediately shoot the player, because that would be mean, but I wanted it to do that, but what ends up happening is that the AI just goes underneath the floor here, and tries to shoot you from underneath. It's ridiculous, because there's an open window here, but the flying enemies in Rec Room are kind of weird. They don't actually fly, they just sort of hover above the ground a bit. So they can't really do much verticality-wise, which is probably why it goes down. There's like no health items in the rest of the game, because it always respawns when you break it, and I didn't like that. And this animates, and when I press that button, an immeasurable amount, well, just a great amount of work happened there. Because like I said, I didn't really understand animation gizmos very well. When you flood the water down here, there's like just an absolute crap ton of animation gizmos that fire off. If I bring up my makeup pen, you can see there's so many of them. And each one of these is like linked to one object, because I didn't know you could do multiple objects in one animation. So I had to wire all of these up, and it moves the water that we will see down there when we get back down. And some of these are actually set to animate in a certain way so that it looks right, but you can't get down here in time to see it. But I believe this one flows downwards. Just jump down. This spawn is coming. The big issue I have with that spawn is that if the AI goes under the water, it's just a pain in the butt to try and kill it, because you can't see it. Yeah, we'll go into the generator now. This is quite possibly my favorite level transition. This doesn't actually rotate correctly. It's kind of weird how it rotates. But yeah, I like how you jump down here to the next level. And as you'll see, I didn't build the level high enough off the invisible floor that all Rec Room maps have. So when you jump down there, you actually hit the invisible floor, and that's kind of weird, because it will load. That doesn't look very good. Anyways. We fall down there, and we end up in level 3. Which is the field level. I like how these loading boxes sort of act as a way for me to
Game on!
disguise the fact that the transitions aren't actually very fluid. This one's the easiest one, but some of the airlocks later on, they don't look like the same thing as they do in the other level. Get a good view of all the triggers in here. This was probably the most boring level to make, because it's just waves of enemies. It's honestly one of the more boring ones to play. Yeah, this was pretty much always the concept for the level. Didn't really change. And there's 2 pistols here, because I didn't bring weapons with me. I didn't know how to do that. I still don't really. But yeah, go through here. This door doesn't have anything behind it. There. And for some reason, I have holsters and back sides and stuff. One of the levels doesn't have a back holster for some reason. It's really annoying. I think it's like level 6 or 7. I don't know why. I just didn't do it right. So yeah, then you go up the ramp. And I really like this view. Big block housing letters. I just like how that looks. And there's actually, I believe that there should be anyways, there should be invisible collision by these bars. I'm not seeing it. It's probably because, so many things already showed up, just to keep the player from like, clipping through. Let's check. I guess I deleted those on accident. Anyways. This is my least favorite enemy spawn. I like to stick it onto it. It's annoying. I wanted these guys to be flying higher up, like it, but it's not. I like that little waterfall there. That was fun to add. I don't know why there's really a river going through here. Like, what the purpose of that is. Like, other than the generator. And also, you come out here, you go down. That's not how gravity works. I don't know what I was thinking with that. It's, not how gravity works. Also, rip invisible collision. I don't know why it's not there. That's really dumb. 129 days, jeez. Ah, dang it. Room is being problematic, not loading quick. So, now I'll just give you a view of the outside of the level. You can see this is the door that wires up to the trigger. You can probably still grab it. Yeah. It's just 'cause we're outside of the map there. I didn't do a very good job of cutting those off. They're not scaled properly for some reason. Probably because I wasn't very good at, like, using editing mode, I guess, maybe? Maybe that's why it's messed up. Yeah. I can show this bit here on the tunnel. It's not the tunnel you come out of. This is the one you come out of. As you can see, it ends very quickly. Sort of looks like the other one. Jump down there. And that trigger up there, the purple trigger, is the one that moves the spawner into the game over box. Yeah. The rocks kind of clip through the ceiling up here. Yeah. I'll probably cut this and re-record this bit so I can get to level 4. Alright, so I am back, and it's been a couple hours for me now, but nothing for you. And I've attempted to rebalance my audio, and I've been able to load into level 4 here, so that's good. Just turn down the game volume. I was way too quiet last time, so I'll try and talk a little louder. So anyways, this is level 4. This level was an absolute pain to make. Mainly due to these evil keycards falling through the floor. And the invisible floor under this map is very low down. Compared to where the floor is here in some of the previous maps. So yeah, this level was kind of a pain to make. I did have it pretty well sorted out though, how it was gonna work. I would say with hindsight, it's a bit dull on some of these hallways. Just like flat colors, but bring out my maker pen. It's at 97% ink, so I probably couldn't have done much about that. Yeah. So, here, there's gonna be something that I'm gonna point out because I think that most everybody's gonna miss it, and it actually took a lot. Well, not like a whole lot, but there's a massive out of bounds area just for this, so we open that, and there goes a train. And we go out of bounds here. The whole level. I made this, absolutely massive, track here, just so you couldn't, like, see where it ended. And it really doesn't, I think it goes all the way over there, but, like, with all the darkness, it kind of camouflages it nicely. You can see how it kind of disappears. The glow fades out, and I like how that happened with the color, because I believe I was making this level, with, different skybox, just the normal clear day skybox, but this level uses, Spooky Night skybox, I believe, to get that dark effect of all of the power and electricity being out. And actually, for this level, I did kind of start, in a different area than the actual start, unlike the other levels. So in this level, I made this area here first, including this train bit here. I think there's actual glass there now, glass material. But yeah, this was the first thing I made, because I was slightly unsure about how that area was gonna look. And I just kind of wanted to do this bit. So you have this desk over here, some chairs, and this is something that I only learned later, but, at this point I was full on working on the project on desktop, because it's quicker, there's more hotkeys and stuff. And something that I learned later is that, for some reason, I don't know why, there's probably a good reason, but, object scaling, is very strange on PC. Like, if you've ever seen the Half-Life doors comparison, like, the door in Half-Life 2 is massive compared to a door in Half-Life Alyx. Like, this door, this looks pretty deep, like, normal sized on screen. But as you can see, this is kind of a massive door in VR. And that's why that happened. It's kind of weird. Yeah. And I don't know. I know that a lot of people get to this level and die. But I wonder how many people like tried to take that elevator the first time, or how clearly communicated the goal of this level is. So, anyways, we head to the office. This is backtracking the level, and you'll see that in a bit. And I'm really happy with how this bit turned out. I love that the vent there. This big office room, probably the exact same desk copy pasted. World building is my passion. This jump is really weird. Sometimes you can get over this, and sometimes you have to duck underneath it. I don't know why. In this keycard, I believe I turned off physics because it kept falling through the floor. That one falls to the floor. This is the new investments board. As you can see, RobotCorp is a bit of a failing company. They haven't invested in any new technology recently. Well, not any that people in this area would know about anyways. So yeah. And I guess it's kind of nice there's this glass here. It's not intentional, but you can see sort of your goal over there, elevator power, if you come all the way up here. And this broken beam is kind of weird. Like, in terms of gameplay, it's just used as... It was my justification for getting up here. I was like, how do you get up here? It's like, cool if there was a broken beam, but I don't really know how this stays up, but this was a very intentional thing to have as a ramp. I wanted to do that. I thought that would be fun. So, jump back down here for our first backtrack, all the way to the housing area. And all of these cube lights were kind of a late addition. One of the last things that I added. I think they add a bit more to the level. Because I was actually gonna originally have it you turned on the light power and a bunch of lights would come on, but I just couldn't get it to work. I don't know what was wrong with it. It just wouldn't work. And more mines. I like these mines too, because the spawn is kind of cool. I like how they spawn around the staircase. I suppose you could probably walk straight into that. And this keycard scanner just has nothing on it. I should have put something there. I don't remember why I didn't, like, if I had a reason, or I just kind of forgot. Like, you can't scan anything there. And coming up, set that there, is one of my favorite bits of this level, maybe the whole game. Climb up here. And I was gonna have this area up here be a janitorial room until I realized that how would you get the cleaning supplies down this ladder? So it's just sort of a empty room. I guess I could have put some, like, AC or something up here. Just got this pipe. I think it, like, if this room was just completely empty, this would look bad, but it's just kind of interesting how something like one object can give it life. I could have put more boxes, like storage room, but, you know, once again, had to get up the ladder. Anyways, move the box. Or you can go straight through the box. It's not very solid. And this is a very low vent. There's nothing up there. And this is the part that I really like. would do that again, I would probably make the enemy spawn a bit earlier. But I just really like that bit. It's just an animation gizmo. There's actually a funny bug at one point where it's still here. The bug is still here. You can see the trigger isn't set to trigger once. I didn't find that out until very much later. But the trigger for this animation, for this thing to fall down, 'cause it's not actually physics-based, is set to trigger multiple times. It's just kind of amusing. Anyways. My game is buggy. There was a key card here at one point that you would use to open that door, but this one always fell from the table. I could not get this one to stay. There's just a button now. It's on this table for some reason. Makes a sound effect. That way I could first for like playtesting if I knew it was working. Here's a vending machine. I finally used it again. And I just sort of like jumping down here. It's fun. It feels like you're breaking the rules of the building. That's what I think is fun about this bit. Is that, up until this point you've been pretty much going through it normally, except for that broken bit back there. But that's the fault of the explosion. But here you're like deliberately going around the wrong way to circumvent doors, and there's just a really cool feeling with that. So anyways, another backtrack. Back to the offices. To turn on the elevator power, and time for the fight that everybody dies at, and then never tries to join again. I assume that we'll die at that the purple guy. This was actually more against him. At first this room was just absolute chaos. Like, it was incredibly difficult the first time. There's probably double the enemies down here. There were some flying ones, which was kind of fun for me, but really unfortunate. These guys are really slow to notice you. Hey, I got over it this time. Yeah. That seam there. And this lines up, textures line up, except for the seam. And I put this on the floor just as a justification for like why you can't turn the lights on. Door power. Because it's already on. It's in the on position. Elevator power.
Destroying your magazine. Hostile detected.
This next part here, it's kind of sad because when I added posters, I didn't see this. Some pops down there. What you're supposed to do is grab one of these bombs here, stick it down at them. What happens a lot is you just accidentally put it in your poster and you kill yourself up. It's not ideal. I like to try and do it. But as you can see, if I put it there, you're just supposed to sort of let go of it. If I put it there, it's just gonna fall So does that where it spawns them in. You can see that if you try and like speedrun this game. You go past an enemy encounter and then go to an area with more enemies. They'll just be like the elevator power is on. Getting this to work was a real pain too. I ended up learning how to use a roll assignment, which is what happens in this level. It's how you get the power on. When you press the power button, player is assigned a roll. So technically, this would work on anybody that has the roll, but you don't have it at the start of the level, so it won't work unless you get whatever the roll is called, like elevator or something. So we go up to all of these copy-paste hallways. That one's just, they're like the same hallway, just kind of reversed. And that explosion sound that plays is, I don't know, my audio is probably going to be laggy just because this is a Quest recording. But that explosion is supposed to be like the elevator is crashing. Crash all the way down here. And I figure just show off these hallways here in the elevator sequence. They just go around a corner and end. I very strongly remember watching that nostalgia nerd video about some fake console that looks like a PS5 while making this. Just a random little tidbit from development. So anyways, let's move to level 5. My favorite. Or probably my favorite level. More darkness in this level too. But it's used better, I think. Or
Game
maybe
on!
level 4 wasn't bad at it. So here we are, level 5, Restricted Sector. This is probably one of my favorites, and I'll explain why. Restricted Sector. That flashlight is supposed to be more like right here. Apologize if any screen mode players tried to play this and it's across there and they couldn't grab it. But I've had to do some stuff with the game post-release, and I just ended up, like, the flashlight would fall through the floor. It might do it sometimes now. That was another thing with custom physics objects. This flashlight fell through the floor sometimes when I saved the game, so I ended up putting it on this cart. Because at first the cart wasn't here, and the flashlight just sort of pointed at the button. And that was an intentional bit of design there. Having the flashlight point at the button. I wish this pointed forward. Probably put it in my face, or not. But yeah, it was intentional to have it point at the button. Because it's kind of dark, so I figured the player might need to have a little pointer, like, it's over there. So here we are. And this is sort of supposed to be kind of a big cave, because RobotCorp is underground. And I just like this level for the verticality, and I like how you kind of see how, like, you're at the start here, and you can, that's almost the end of the level right there. The end is, the real end is over there. Oh, and also, you might not be able to hear, let me turn the volume. So as you could hopefully hear there, when they added audio sounds, I added an echoey one to this area. I really like how that turned out. Anyways, my right hand has the flashlight in it, that's right. Let's get the gun from the side. So, here we go. I like these ladders. Like I said, the sense of verticality, was fun. And this is intentional too, because I know that, you know, a lot of people have trouble with ladders in VR. There's another bit later on in the game that I should have done better with ladders. But that's just sort of there for you to raise yourself onto. And this is a puzzle that I wanted to do from the beginning of working on level 5. At first you were supposed to, like, I don't remember if you were supposed to jump here or if there wasn't a building here and you were, like, supposed to jump on and grab it. I believe you can do it, but it's really clunky because grabbing climbable objects doesn't always work well. But instead, let's just shoot out that lock there. And I don't know if you could see that, but there's a little green dot that comes from the lock when you shoot it. And that's because this lock is secretly... First, it's a decorative object, so the bullets go straight through it. And that's because there is a button inside of the lock, a toggle button. And to be able to shoot the button, you need the object to be... I can see the weapon down there. You need the object to be decorative, obviously, so you can't... so there's no collision on it. You can hit the button. But what happens, why you see the toggle button, is that if you didn't, you could shoot it again, and the ladder would come back up because it's a toggle button. And I don't think there are any other buttons that you can shoot besides toggle. Maybe there were, and I didn't know. But regardless, I only wanted it to work once. And that's how I ended up figuring out doing it. It animates to somewhere like up there. It's really high up. I tried to put it in a place where you couldn't shoot it. Maybe you can. Yeah, another ladder that's sort of on the side here. Sort of pull yourself over. Yeah. I think I was considering putting something around here. But there isn't. It's a little secret or something. Anyways, the tunnel. This area looks really boring with a lot of light, but it looks better and looks pretty decent in darkness. And this area is fun because you can soft lock the game. So that's intended to be dynamite. You blow this rock up. But the issue is that, and I just went with it because I figured no one would do this. You could go back down there, and at that point you're stuck. Unless you want to clip through this rock, you can't get back up the ladder. But I ended up figuring that no one's gonna do that, I don't think, because there's this obvious big room here, which we'll head into now. Get in a fight with some robots. So yeah, another thing I kind of like is that the robot fight here is restrained, you know. It's like, it's the first robot fight you've had this whole level. You've been in darkness, so first you get an interior fight, and then an exterior fight, which is one of my favorite places in the game. And you go around this corner, hit trigger. You're supposed to make it so you can't see these guys spawn. But Rec Room is not very good with that, and you get that orange particle effect, so it's very obvious that they're spawning. You know, with like, starting with level 4, I try to get better with my spawns, not just spawning enemies in front of the player. It still happens, like in that other room. I tried to put them behind rocks, but you can see that it happens. Switch it up, that guy's speed. But yeah, this is one of my favorite places in the game. Just up on top of this weird tower. And then you get to do some pipe walking. I also like this. Just the general environmental traversal of this level was very fun to put together. Going across the pipe. I don't know why the pipe sticks out like that, but it does. Or why there's an entrance here. But there is. It's sort of boarded up, you know, going back to the theme of this being a restricted area. That's what we like to call a clown closet. There's nothing back here. Except for another door, so it's not just a closet, it seems like there might be something back there.
Hostile detected. That wasn't good.
Another example of trying to spawn enemies behind stuff. Yeah. Time for the big ride. Whee! If you jump while you're on this, you will fall down there and die. There is a trigger on the bottom of the map. And there's my audio trigger. See that? That's one of my favorite little animations in the game because, like I said, it wasn't until the next level that I learned how to do multiple objects in animation. So, you move across here, and there is a trigger over here somewhere that's right there. That's the whole trigger. This train hits, and the trigger makes this open. This little thing move out for you to walk onto. Just kind of smooth. And like I said, you can see the audio trigger zone. So now that I'm out here, you don't hear the echo. It's right up to the wall here, so you get the echo outside. And there's a big trigger down there, so if you fall down there, you die. Or you get sent to the game over box. The game doesn't actually end. You just get sent to the game over box.
That wasn't good.
So yeah, up we go. This elevator, I kind of wish there was more to look at while you're going up, but I still think it's kind of fun. This moves way too slow. The elevator at the end of the game, too, also closes way too slow. And I've been told that if you jump while you're in this elevator, you will fall back down and it soft-lock the game. Which, you know, is partially my fault for not realizing that that could happen, and, you know, also the fact that you just go straight through solid objects in Rec Room sometimes. So, yeah. This is another transition that I'm happy with. Of course, I'm paused here because I'm the creator, so it asks me if I want to save, but if you're just going up normally, the elevator will keep moving while you load into the next map.
Game on!
This box is small. Go to the Robot Labs. This absolute behemoth of a level. It's really long. Like, I thought level 4 was long when I made it. It's not really super long. Level 10, just my obvious way of telling you can't go there. And if I feel like it at the end, I'll go to this map, but as you can see out here, there's this train, this rail here, the door over there, and this is just sort of a little nod to a bit of, like, this is not the original level 6, basically. This was gonna be level 7, and there was gonna be a level 6 where you rode a train, and robots shot at you while you were on it, you shot back. It ended up not working out, but I put like an hour into animating the train and the railway. But I didn't get very far in set decoration, because even if it had just been a ride, I didn't really know what to put on the side of the train, so it got cut, and maybe I'll show that after I'm done with the game. So yeah, Sector B. And this is lore dump computer number 1. Just sort of a shooting range. There's a fake door over there. And this is where we finally get a new gun, because we haven't had one since level 3 with the assault rifle. So, it's been a bit. Just ditch the pistol. Is this the... Yeah, this is the level that doesn't have a back holster, which kind of sucks, because there's some ladders. Like I said, I don't know why that was. Anyways, grab that. There's this trigger that kind of goes diagonally, so hopefully no matter which way you go, you kind of hit it in same time, place, sort of thing. Take some shots. I suck at those. And this is a weird fight. It's kind of difficult, for, I guess, some cases. I've gotten better at it, but it's probably the hardest fight in the game up to this point. Mostly that's just up to how many enemies there are. So anyways, first lord on the computer. I like this keyboard, even though it's not, like, a real keyboard. And I'm sorry about this flashing. If that bothers you, don't look right now. I'll tell you when you can look again. That's just because I'm on quest. So, objects in Rec Room get sort of mashed together when you're on quest for performance reasons. But anyways, first lord up, Egghead here. That's the name of somebody, apparently. Was saying something strange is happening with the robots. And I really didn't have much of a story up until, like, the previous level, or maybe while I was working on this level. It kind of came together while I was working on the game. Basically, if you played it and you didn't get it, there's a substance called Alligon that they are using, in the robots. And it, like, basically gives them this, drive to escape and stuff. And they go insane. It's very B-movie science plot sort of thing. And there's a trigger right here, because when I pass it, a couple enemies spawn up there, and there's another trigger up there for more enemies. And what I wish I could do is have, like, a trigger that spawned enemies and then have one that made the enemies alert, like, pass up here, and then the enemies are alert, but I couldn't have that, so... This is a pretty empty room. I thought about putting some science equipment on here, but, you know, like with level 4, I'm at 97.72%, so I probably could have, but it didn't seem worth it at the time. So anyways, another flashing screen. Yeah, sorry, I didn't say that you can look again now. Basically just saying that there's some Alligon creates artificial life, I guess is what I went with. Yeah. I kind of wish I had told it different than these screens, because it just kind of all gets dumped in this level. Like, it makes sense, because it's the labs. And that was sort of intentional, that you get all of the lore in the labs, because, well, it's where all this went down. But if you could just get a little more of a hint earlier on, it probably would have been better. That's one of my favorite bits, and I'm so glad that it's timed well. Like, it's almost, I almost tried to do a little bit of comedy here, and you got that doorbell ring, and then suddenly you're being attacked by this, purple robot. It's, you know, it's a quick fight, it's a relatively easy fight, but it just sort of adds a bit. And welcome to the massive robot, which originally was the only concept, which was originally a level concept in itself. The robot labs and the big robot level were going to be two different levels. And then, as I was working on that down there, I realized that it would have been really boring to just make a laboratory, like, ever heard the story about the Escher Labs level in Dusk? That was kind of the same thing. Just gonna make a science lab, and then realized how boring that would be, because it really would be very boring. And so ended up making what's in the final game. Sort of like here, you know, with this sort of curveball of, there's a big robot, and this is also a callback to Half-Life 1's Blast Pit, and just sort of how it's progression-wise is done. Obviously you dismantle it rather than blowing it up at the end, but that was sort of the inspiration there. Yeah. Just jump down, who needs ladders? And sometimes this happens. I don't know why, but sometimes this door, the trigger for it simply does not work. Oh, I'm dumb. It's because I didn't press the button, but I have had times where the button doesn't work. Anyways, button moves that, and I went with tire treads down there. I just thought it felt nice. These are floating now. I don't know how they do that, but I figured that it would be something that could be... It wouldn't really be noticeable, like, if you were really thinking about this, you would notice it. But otherwise, it looks like it's almost attached to the ceiling or something. Which later on proves to be false, but yeah. Hopefully the door is open now. Okay. I forgot how my own level progresses. Yeah. So this next fight down here was same as level 4. It was also a lot harder, and I think what's in final is it's just way too easy, that fight down there. The robots are too slow and stuff. I was playtesting it on screen mode, and I shouldn't have done that, because screen mode has disadvantages in terms of how you can fight robots. So yeah. Yes. I wanted to have this big battle with these robots coming out of these rooms on the side, but I toned their speed down way too much, and that ends up hurting the general piece. They're just so slow, really good. And I figure if you made it this far, you're probably good enough to handle normal ones, but I don't know why I just didn't take this deal. And actually, when you jump down here, you can get yourself up on one of these. Probably break the body a bit. There we go. And this room has a lot of copy-pasted stuff, but I tried to vary it up, you know. It's a cargo area, so I figured there would be a lot of similar stuff. Whoever put this box here in the universe of RobotCorp, was fired after that. They lost their job. And then was promptly hired back, by RobotCorp's manager, because they realized that he had an eye for design, and they could use that box on promotional magazines for RobotCorp. I didn't make that up on the spot, definitely not. So anyways, the pipe, this pipe. Now, there's two ways to go about doing this, and I intended for this at first, but then I realized that you could just do that, and this one is pretty fair too. It's kind of bumpy. Let's make it motion sick, isn't it? Oh, yeah, there's these guys. Because, if you go too far, they will not come down. There. Yeah. But yeah, you're intended to sort of, because both these pipes are grabbable, you're supposed to sort of, hand over the other, grab them. It's kind of slow though, so I just walk on top, and I consider that to be a very fair way to do that section. It's kind of fun having multiple options. So, the elevator we go to some strange computer things. These took up so much ink in the room. Like, it's ridiculous how much ink they took up. I don't remember how much it was, but that's a those computers right there are a significant amount of the ink in this room. Anyways, time for the the second big claw. First big claw, anyways. Grab that. Really happy with that. How that turned out. And this also moves out. And also, when you press that button, this ladder goes down. Where does the ladder go? Back to this area. Which is pointless, because, like, why would you want to go back? But I just think it's a fun bit of level continuity. And it's also nice that it means I have a in-game reason of, like, you know, if this ladder wasn't here, and that elevator was the only way to get up here, you would go like, well, why do I have to go to this underground cargo area to get up here? There's actually this ladder here. So that fills my holes. My plot holes. This moves out to, and a speedrun strat that I figured out is that you can jump down here and stand on the edge of it, and then when it moves out, because it moves out extremely fast, you stand on it and it pushes you out. So instead of walking across this massive area, which is very sparse, but I didn't really have any ideas of what I could put in here, so I just left it empty. But if you do go this speedrun strat, there is a trigger right there, which starts animating these strange moving platforms over. This is Polygon, the screen stuff. Over the Polygon, it starts animating it, and sometimes if you go too fast, that will fail, and it means that you have to go back and hit the trigger. I guess just something about frame rates. I don't know. I am not great with computers. As is very evident with this game. This is another case of if you jump, you would immediately die, because this Polygon is instant kill. There's a trigger underneath here that instant kills. Since you do game over box. And actually originally what you were going to do at the end here, this part's how it was gonna be. But here, this platform that I'm standing on was not the initial idea. What I wanted to do was have you be on this one, and then you would run and jump for it. And actually, for a while, that was what it was. And then I realized that there's so much space here, and since there's not really a good lock-on, like, you can see that with custom grabbable objects, it can be kind of finicky. You could get it, but if you didn't, you would have to restart the game, which, speaking of, is not something I should have done. I should have added checkpoints. Message for developers out there, for your long story-driven single-player games. Add checkpoints.
Destroy humans.
I don't know why, but I kind of like that bit. There's not a whole lot of combat, so anyways, I'm so perplexed why I did this. This is the final computer, and it moves this last head out of the way, and I promise you, it does animate. This thing does come over here and grab it, but this hallway is so long, and this glass is here, to the point where you will miss the animation in final build, and you can't fly like I'm doing. That's just a developer thing that I have enabled. I fly over here, see it grabs it. Yeah. I did the work, and then hid it from everybody. This is kind of finicky to grab, but it's a retread of the pipes from earlier, so I figure you've learned it. You can do it again. Hopefully you don't drop all the way down. That would suck. Probably could have put in another ladder somewhere. I'm not really sure, like, in the logic of the game, this doesn't make sense. But I figure at this point logic is dead. Or you can just try and make justifications. Anyways, on this robot for a sec, I studied the model of this robot from the spawner gadget, and I like tried to copy over how it looks onto this. So like these are on the regular, and this is something that I did not notice for a very long time, and I feel very silly for not noticing it. And yeah, there's a big invisible collision here, so you cannot jump from there over there. That would soft lock the game. Yeah. I did not notice for so long. This thing is clipping into here, and it just messes with me so much. Yeah. It's kind of a ridiculous level, in terms of just operating on logic. You know, sometimes you go with fun over logic. And I apologize to any shorter people who can't reach that. Even I have to jump. I'm not, like, super tall, but I'm not very short either. Sort of middle of the road there. And I have to jump to reach it. There's a shockingly low amount of robots in this game called RobotCorp, and so many ladders. And this is here because I was gonna, like, you were gonna come up here and, like, get over there by flinging yourself, and then I realized that that's not fun. Like, to retry that over and over. I don't even know if you can. There's just this little grab thing on the side. And, you know, it doesn't really make sense, but to remedy that, I just sort of made it have this symmetrical design, this very geometric look, so that at the very least looks nice to make up for that. And we will go on to level 7. Polygon reactor level.
Game on!
This is the last good level of the game. The final level is trash. And I'll explain why that is later. Yeah. Get a new weapon in this level. Final weapon in the game. These hearts are not usually there. That's just my skin for it. And here we get our ATV, our radiation suit. Yeah. So I was gonna have it be that there would be like a kill trigger in that area, like you could walk in there without the suit, and it would just kill you. But I figured, and I think it was like honestly not working out for some reason. What happens is when you get this, you get a role assigned to yourself, and it lets you press this button. Do not enter without protection. And there's no unequip on this costume, so you can't take it off. Do not enter without protection. That's a remnant from when I was gonna let you go in there without a hazmat suit, or whatever it is. And this combat bit I actually really like. I think it's kind of fun. Kind of have to play it a certain way to be fun, like instead of just jumping around. These guys here are literally just scaled down versions of the big robot. If I remember right, it's literally just that. Yeah, and this is the Polygon reactor / factory. So this conveyor belt is meant to be like, this is where they get the Polygon put in them. And this is another bit of level design I like that I kind of stole from how Half-Life does level design, where you can see the thing, but you can't get to it yet. You actually can't get here, I think. I'm dumb. You can get here. But yeah. You can skip the level by doing that. I'm gonna pretend like I intended for this. But yeah, there's some collision here, so that if anybody like tries to jump through here, they won't get through. So you need to be a bit taller to do it. But you can. But it's intended to be sort of a, like I said, a callback when you get up here later on in the level, much later. It's supposed to go like, oh, that's the bit I was in earlier. And just in case you're wondering, I did not know you could get up there. I believe that was foolproof. I learn something new about my broken game every day. And I like the poles in here, like, that was something, like, if you get rid of these, it's kind of a boring room, just like in the last level, the big robot room. Big rooms are kind of boring sometimes, when you have simple textures to work with. But if you just add something like these nice columns, you can get something that actually looks kind of cool. This is the there's no actual real in-game reason why there's a maze of boxes in this storage room, but I'm just gonna say that there's some really goofy employees at RobotCorp that like to mess with each other, and they just put a maze of boxes in there. There's some invisible collision here, so you can't get through. But you actually can get through this one. I do that when I am trying to play the game fast. And that cargo hatch is up there. I don't really like this backtrack through here. I probably should have done it a bit different. Had a little gate over there that could open. You know. I suppose this is all more of an exercise in self-reflection on level design, isn't it? Yeah. There is a robot in this box. I don't know why some of them are boxed and some of them aren't. But I suppose it's... Yeah, that's what I meant for it. What I meant for it was that that's to show the player that the boxes have robots in them. That's what they get carried in. That's why there's so many boxes in there. Yeah. Let's go through the cargo area. I like this little... coming up here, I'll see if we see it. There is another scaled down big robot that falls through this passage here. And you can't see it very easily because of this costume, which is actually nice. But that ends down there, and ends up there too. You can see the end of it up there. But the robot itself is only like right there before it falls. I don't know where the animation gizmo is, so I can't reverse it to show you. But it's not very high up when it falls. Yeah, just jump over that. I believe there's a trigger down there that sends you to the game over. Or there should be anyways. I like how this sign is kind of placed. I intentionally did that so that it's like directly in the player's view. So that hopefully they won't miss it and just be left wondering what this is. It's a coolant system. I don't know how nuclear reactors work. So, just coolant system. this part, it really has no explanation, and this is intended. This is how the level is supposed to be. There is no real story beyond this, other than I was just thinking it would be funny to have just a ton of enemies in this one area. I don't know why. Like I said. And this doesn't really match up. I had some issues matching this stuff up while I was working on it. Anyways, here's that callback I mentioned. And here's it in this area. There's actually a vent down there. I think I triggered the enemy in there. But there's a vent in there at the start of the level. And you can go in there, but there's another closed vent on the other side with some invisible collision. So you can see that area in the level. Can't get to it. What am I? That's not supposed to happen. I'm playing Rec Room. That does look kind of cool, hot balls in there though. So yeah, I don't know if you can hear that, but as you can see, I don't. As it happened, as I was like scaling this trigger here, I didn't want it to be in the airlock section. So there's this bit of this area of the level. There's a bit of the area of the level where there's no muffled audio for the reactor. I don't. That's just kind of how it ended up happening. And that enemy that was over there was supposed to be sort of over there, and you'd shoot it from up here. Anyways, move on to the Aligon main reactor, and there is a kill trigger on this reactor. Will instantly destroy you, which is not a good idea when you don't have checkpoints. Take anything from this, take that. You need to have checkpoints. Oh, and here we go. The dumbest, one of the dumb bits that I thought was going to be cool, but doesn't work very well. You are being chased by the Aligon as it floods the main reactor, and you have to know how to climb like this. Like, if you don't speed climb, you probably won't make it, which was kind of a mistake in hindsight. I believe it works alright on screen mode if you, like, climb up it and jump at the same time. And here's that ladder that I was mentioning in level 5, that there's some, there's a later ladder that isn't done very well. It's this one. Because you clamber up here, but, like, just in general, with ladders in VR, you should do that differently. Fortunately, this stops right here. New robot production. Let's turn that off. There's a little security camera. There's one in the previous level too. That opens a store. And now, new robots can no longer be made, but there are still robots. So, on to level 8, which is, like I said, the worst level of the game. I'll explain that. This level doesn't really have a theme. Like, it's just more cargo areas, I guess. When I get to it and I can point it out,
Game
I'll show what
on!
the plan for it was. And this is the finale. I guess I just called it that because I didn't have any of these. But yeah. So, originally, this area up here was supposed to have, like, some food court. It was supposed to be like a food court up here. I don't know why you would take the elevator like that to a food court, but that was the plan. It didn't end up working out, and I'll explain that now, is that, at the end of development, the Rec Room, edit tool was kind of broken. I believe you could still use manipulate, which is the same thing as going into scale and then edit. Basically, in Rec Room, you have, let's give a little example here. I have a cube here. Drop that, done editing. If I scale it now, we're scaling in object mode. Sort of like Blender. But if I go to edit, click it, and then scale again, I can scale individual sides, or I can, on editing, and then the manipulate button does the same thing. Let's do that as well. But basically what was happening is that instead of having this smooth scaling like this, what's happening is that even on small objects, like, it does this with big objects, like, as you can see, it's kind of jumping there. But even on small objects, what would happen is that there would only be 2 points I could scale from, so either the object would be, like, this long, or this long, and no in between. And I was just so fed up with that this is how the level turned out. It's very boring and empty because I couldn't make more props. I couldn't make more interesting stuff. There's some areas in the level where you can see, like, up there, the food court area that I did put in, some of the stalls are just, like, scaled poorly. Yeah. So pick your tools wisely. Don't use Rec Room unless you don't want to use Unity because you're putting it off, like me. I think this is the best area in the world. And that's because a lot of these things in here are reused assets. Like, this is reused, that's reused, the boxes are reused, the barrels are reused. That box is just scaled up a whole bunch. Yeah. This is the handiwork of that employee that likes to mess around with boxes and stuff. So yeah. You're supposed to do here, hit this button on that, and it lifts it up. But you can actually do it, and I knew this while I was making it, but I left it in, because I thought, if you want to do it, you can do it. Is you can actually just jump on these little guys here, but they're kind of hard to get. So yeah. Oh, and I didn't explain this. These buttons power the elevator to the surface, and I never said that it's an elevator in the game. And I should have done very yeah. And I don't know why, but on Quest, I'm fairly certain it works on PC. That big thing on the wall, there's 3 spots there, and when you hit one of these buttons, it's supposed to light up one of these areas, but the lights don't animate on Quest. Sorry about that. But yeah, here's the food court area, and as you can see, these objects are not scaled well because, like I said, the tools were being not great. And this is kind of a funny bit here. This thing here, it only exists because one of these things here, I can't remember which one, it's this one. As you can see, it does not reach the ceiling when it goes down, but I didn't realize that while I was animating it. So I just sort of put that there, and I actually think it looks nicer, to be honest, than without it. Yeah. Let's hit that last button. Spawn a ton of enemies. Take these power weapons. And fun fact, these purple guys down here all have literally 1 health. They're all set to 1 HP. I wanted a power trip moment at the end there. It's like, if I can't have good level design, I'll just let the player blow up a whole bunch of stuff at the end. That's what happens. And now there's an invisible wall here. And this area at the end is kind of weird. You can shoot through it, you can't walk through it. Just the elevators are meant to be very slow. Even though these guys shoot really slow, they can get to you. And if you, like, say, used up all the ammo or dropped your guns, what they'll do is they'll clip through that invisible wall and they will kill you while you're waiting for this to move. Anyways, let's go up to the credits after this very slow animation. Goodbye to RobotCorp. And the ham. There's the ham down there. This scrolls too fast, I think. I wish it was slower. Yeah, shout out to Pie-Man, Saluba Productions Discord, and those people. Thanks for playing, or watching in this case. Thank you for watching. Yeah, and this is the end of the game. So, talk a little bit about here, this last level. It's kind of sad. Just in general, this level was kind of sad, to work on. Because what I wanted to have happen is that I wanted you to, it was going to be a wave defense. It was going to be a final holdout. This final master, holdout. And you were going to have different areas of the map open up as you were working on it. So, like, this would have opened up and this would have opened up. Eventually, I made these connect, in that way so that, you know, it had a different progression. But, like, this area would open up, this area would open up, and you would just be defending yourself, as you were waiting for the elevator to come. And then somehow you would have ended up, there, close to the end, gotten the power weapons, like, final wave of enemies, and just destroyed them all with the power weapons. That, of course, didn't end up happening. And here's the, just for fun, here's the spawns for all those purple robots. I configure them. I have no experience with this new menu. They changed it, since I made the game. Let's see. Max health points is, like I said, 1. And they're also slow. Don't shoot super fast. And this is the case for literally all of them. Just a easy way to get a power trip moment. So yeah, that is RobotCorp. And you can see all the spawns wired up to that area. So anyways, I'm going to see if I can find the unfinished RobotCorp level 6. Just kind of showing all this stuff. Might as well show that. Like you can see in the final game, the 6th level is called RobotCorp level 6 Labs because RobotCorp level 6 was already taken. So, and I think that last time I entered this room, I could not find the animation gizmo, which sucks because there's some long animation. But if you want to see the animation, I have a video of it. There's no animation with all of this detail that I added, which isn't a whole lot, but it's not there, so, you know, word of warning. And you were not gonna spawn on top of a train, if this level made it into the game. The true start of the level is over here. You would have come up the elevator to this area, gone down this, clearly unfinished ramp, and gone over here, open this door. I actually really like this door. Too bad I put time into that. We're on track 6. And there's just this little pointless room over here. I kind of like how it's sideways. Like, it's just interesting how much, like, you can make something look better if there's a bit of sideways geometry to it. Anyways, here's the cart. And I had some test versions where there was, like, a button here that linked to the animation, but like I said, I don't know where the animation is, and nothing is, like, there's no animation, that I can find animation gizmo that's clamped to train car, so unfortunately the animation for it might be lost. So I'll just do a little fly through. And this was one area that I actually had a trigger at one point. Those doors would open, a couple enemies would come out of it. And then I realized that I would have to do this much, which, it doesn't look like much, but it can add up. I realized I would have to do this much, for the whole level, and I just stopped. Like, it didn't sound like it would be fun to make. It wasn't gonna be fun to play. Especially in this area, it's just so massive. There were gonna be some bots that shot you from up there. And this wall was a pain to make. As you can see, the geometry is very strange. 'Cause if I go outside, like, it's a curved area. There's more track up here. Yeah. So you would have gone down here, and like I said, it's sad that the animation gizmo seems to be gone, because what happens is that this thing goes up and it spins while it does it. And you would end up going here to this bit of the track, go up here, and this was a bit of an awkward part because this bit, curves here. That didn't work well because your train almost like jumped in the animation to keep it flat. And in the animation, this guy over here would have moved over. This would have come up, and there would have been a sort of T junction, but a crossroads here. Go that way and that way. Your route is that way. And then you would have gone along here. Like I said, there's just so much area to cover, and I don't even know if I would have had enough ink for that. And then what would have happened, what does happen in the animation, is that this little thing down here, your train pauses down there, this comes down, and it, like, magnetically links to your train, and it pulls you up, and it was really cool. And then the magnetic thing moves through here, through these corners. And this would have been sort of a dirt tunnel, calling back to the first level. Gone through here. Your train car would have been placed back here. The doors open. And then the end of the level area would have been right over here. That would have transitioned to the labs, which, as I mentioned, then would have transitioned to the big robot level. But that ended up as the same level. Yeah, here's just what it looks like from the outside. Cutting things from games. It's kind of disheartening. Oh well. Anyways, yeah, that was RobotCorp dev commentary walkthrough thing, how it's made, self-reflection. I don't know what I'm gonna title this. Yeah. Hopefully the audio has been much better in this section. I'm sorry that it was so quiet the first time around, and that you probably couldn't have heard a lot of the things I said, which sucks, because there were some amusing things. But anyways, talking too much.